2 months of my life gone, and the first thing I see when I roll back home is strangers splashing in my lake like it's theirs. Imported white sand where my ducks used to wander, pavilions where my fishing boat once sat, a massive carved sign thanking me by name for donating my property. Except, I never donated a damn thing. That moment, leaning on a walker, my body still shaking from a coma, I wondered if I'd lost my mind or if someone had stolen my entire life while I was unconscious. The truth is, I bought that house at the end of a dead-end road because no one else wanted it. I wanted peace, quiet, and space for my daughter Maya. 8 years in the military had already stolen enough from me, and the only thing I asked for in civilian life was privacy. After the kayak accident put me in the hospital, I thought my fight would just be with recovery. I had no idea that while I was lying in a bed with tubes running out of me, the homeowners association was busy building a full-blown resort in my backyard. Mrs. Patterson, my neighbor, drove me home that day. She was smiling like she was dropping off a celebrity. The first thing I saw was a monument planted next to my mailbox. Sunset Shores Community Beach Project. Thank you, Rick Dawson. My knees nearly buckled. I expected to see my familiar shoreline, but instead I found a vacation destination. Beach chairs lined up, volleyball nets, sound systems, strangers eating birthday cake under pavilions I never built. 15 adults, dozens of kids like they had permanent rights to my land. Before I could process it, a woman with a clipboard walked right up, grinning like she'd won the lottery. Linda Barton, president of the HOA. She clasped my hand and thanked me for my selfless vision. She started rattling off about permits, sustainable materials, how I had personally chosen imported sand, and how the community was inspired by my generosity. Every word out of her mouth was a lie, but the worst part? She said it with such sincerity I actually questioned myself. I thought maybe the head injury had wiped out chunks of my memory. Then a little girl tugged my arm, thanking me for building such a fun playground. Everyone smiled at me like I was a saint. Inside, I felt cold. Someone had been making decisions in my name. The next day, Linda invited me to a celebration ceremony. I told her I wasn't ready. She insisted. When I arrived, over 100 people were waiting, TV cruise officials all clapping for me. Linda gave a speech about my supposed generosity, painting me as a veteran who sacrificed his lake for families in need. The crowd roared. Then a giant screen rolled down and played video clips of me, my face, my voice, talking about community sharing and selflessness. Except I had never said any of it. They had sliced up old interviews from my military service, twisted my words into something I'd never believed. Watching it, I felt terror. The man on screen looked like me, sounded like me, even wore my clothes. But it wasn't me. When they called me up to speak, I tried to explain, to tell the truth. But before I could get 2 words out, the crowd erupted again, applause chants. Thank you, Rick. Security volunteers held my arm like I was a flight risk. Someone shouted, "Why are you ruining this for everyone?" Suddenly, I wasn't the victim. I was the problem. That night, I opened the folder Linda shoved into my hands. Inside were pages of legal agreements, my signature perfectly forged, complete with the little flourish I always add to the D in Dawson. Agreements stating I'd donated lake usage rights for 5 years, that I'd paid $15,000 toward construction. Every page was notarized, filed, stamped. It looked airtight. My lawyer, Jim Morrison, examined them and rubbed his temples. He said even if they were forgeries, proving it could take years and cost me $20,000. He warned me people might think I was lying to escape commitments I'd really made. Hearing that, I felt sick. Even Jim didn't fully believe me. And then came the worst blow, Maya. She came home, thrilled, bragging about how her dad was the hero of Sunset Shores. She told me all her classmates admired me, that she'd written a school report about environmental stewardship, about how I shared our lake. She was proud. She believed the lies, too. Watching her beam with excitement broke me. That night, sitting alone at the table, I asked myself if I should just let it go. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe after everything, sharing wasn't so bad. For a moment, I almost surrendered. But then Maya looked up at me and asked, "Daddy, if they can steal who you are while you're sleeping. Can they steal who I am? That question cut me deeper than any battlefield wound. No, I couldn't let them win. Not just for me, for her. I started digging. Online, I found entire social media profiles built under my name stretching back a year. Photos of me I never knew were taken. Posts about minimalism, environmentalism, resource-sharing philosophy I never once preached. Thousands of followers admired Rick Dawson, the community hero. And the kicker posts were still being made while I was unconscious in the hospital. Even from this hospital bed, one read, "I'm more convinced than ever that sharing is what life is about." Someone had been running a fake me more convincingly than the real one. Neighbors swore they'd spoken to me months before, showing diagrams I'd supposedly drawn. One even had a business card with my name and number calling me a community development consultant. My handwriting, my style, all replicated. Fake Rick wasn't just online, he'd walked the streets, shaken hands, convinced everyone I'd changed. And when Maya made a simple school video about her hero dad, she unknowingly cracked the facade. Her words didn't line up with the fake timeline. She said I had always hated crowds, that it was shocking I'd suddenly embraced community. The video went viral. Forums tore apart the inconsistencies, analysts spotted digital manipulation in photos, experts found voice synthesis in fake audio. And then boom, an IP address tied straight back to Linda Barton's house. By then, Linda and 2 board members marched into my living room with files accusing me of causing confusion. They waived supposed medical records saying my brain injury caused memory loss. They threatened lawsuits saying families had invested thousands based on my promises. They even suggested the HOA could vote to declare me legally incompetent. Through the window, neighbors gathered listening, their faces shadowed with doubt. I felt trapped. That night, I knew I had one shot left: go public before they buried me alive. I set up a live stream from my deck, my daughter clutching my arm. My voice shook as I introduced myself as the real Rick Dawson. I laid out the forged documents, showed the signatures, explained the deception. Maya chimed in, telling the world about the dad she knew, private, anxious around crowds, nothing like the generous saint the HOA described. Her innocence made the truth undeniable. Within minutes, thousands tuned in. Digital forensics experts analyzed my evidence live. They pointed out editing flaws in the fake video's metadata, showing manipulation, IP addresses linking directly to Linda Barton. Viewers uncovered money trails, shell companies, even software used for voice cloning. The chat exploded when someone posted screenshots of Linda bragging online about how the project would boost property values. The mask came off, and just as I read aloud the damning IP address tying Linda to the fraud, pounding rattled my front door. The sound echoed on the live stream, thousands of strangers watching live as my house shook. Neighbors crowded my lawn with cell phones glowing. The timing was too perfect, Linda's camp realizing I'd just exposed them. My hands trembled, but I kept speaking because if I stopped now, they'd erase me completely. By morning, the live stream had racked up millions of views. News outlets ran with it. FBI agents showed up at my door, and within days they raided Linda's home. She was dragged out in handcuffs during a community meeting, neighbors watching in silence as their president was exposed as a con artist. Margaret Walsh, David Chen. The whole rotten crew, they were arrested too. Federal charges: wire fraud, forgery. Identity theft. Years in prison. The HOA dissolved. My property rights restored. The beach federal marshals oversaw the dismantling. And me, I ripped the "Thank You Rick Dawson" sign out of the ground myself, tossing it like garbage. That was the moment I finally felt the weight lift. They thought they could rewrite my life while I slept. But they forgot one thing: you can't steal someone's truth forever. Lesson: guard your name, because once someone else writes your story, it's hell to take it back.